Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Some breaking news for the Las Vegas Raiders fans as Jimmy G is coming to the Raiders on a 3-year deal. I think this is an absolutely perfect fit. And quite frankly, I'm a massive Jimmy G fan. Not only is he an absolute beauty, but he's one of the more disrespected quarterbacks in the NFL for no reason. I mean, this is a guy that brought the 49ers to a Super Bowl, 40-17 as a starter. Like, this guy wins games. He's a very solid quarterback at the NFL level. And for some reason, the teams like the 49ers wanted to go away from him and get a guy like Trey Lance. I think the Raiders found an absolute gem here. And now it gets a lot easier to take a look at a 2023 NFL mock draft for the Las Vegas Raiders. So again, if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And then more importantly, let me know in the comment section how you guys think I did, especially Raiders fans. What do you want? What positions do you want to address in this 2023 NFL draft? And if I did not address a position, let me know. We'll talk about some prospects at or around that area you want to take them. And again, the support you guys have shown truly means a lot. These videos are a blast because you get to talk so much ball in NFL draft in the comment section. Without further ado, though, let's get this draft started. And again, sitting there at 7, I'm kind of interested to see how this draft plays out. So if Will Levis is a guy that falls to 7, I think you're picking up the phone. If a team like the Tennessee Titans or like me, I don't know, the Washington Commanders, I think could be in play. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If teams want to trade up and go get Will Levis, which a lot of NFL teams like, I wouldn't be surprised if the Raiders trade down. Now, we're not going to trade down here. We're going to go up and get one of the best players in this class, and I think it is Tyree Wilson. Myles Murphy could be another guy that you're eyeing here. The reason I'm going defensive line over a guy like Devin Witherspoon or Christian Gonzalez, who went 6 to the Lions, is because I think this cornerback class is just so deep. And picking around 38 or even 70, I think there will be starting cornerbacks available. But getting a guy like Tyree Wilson, getting a guy like Myles Murphy, that's rare. You don't have that opportunity later on in this draft. And again, Tyree Wilson is the absolute freak of freaks. He's an absolute wrecking ball. He's good in the run game. He's got super long arms. And this dude, the sky's the limit for him. And that's why you're seeing him shoot up boards. Defensive coordinators, GMs, they want to get their hands on a guy like Tyree Wilson, coach him up a little bit more, show him how to use that power and length in a little bit more of an efficient manner. And this dude is an all-pro edge rusher who's also going to be able to kick inside if you want and play kind of that 3-tech. He's very versatile. He's very good at what he does. One of the more dominant edge rushers in this class, and I think you can't pass on him if he's there at 7. And then 38, 70, that's where you're taking a look at maybe a cornerback. I'm very interested to see if a guy like Anton Harrison, Darnell Wright is still on the board here at 38. And Anton Harrison's there. I think you absolutely smashed that pick. Anton Harrison, it will not be here at 38. But if he is, you are sprinting this card up to the draft. And again, Darnell Wright is another option that I think you're taking a look at. DeJuan Jones, I also think could be another good selection for the Raiders at 38. Anton Harrison, he's a 3-year kid. He's extremely young, but the raw talent Anton Harrison has kind of in a similar way to Tyree. We talked about Tyree Wilson. It's special. His upper body strength is next level, and his feet need some work. And you see guys get into his chest, and Anton Harrison is just strong enough to eat those guys up. I think Anton Harrison is he's my 4th offensive tackle on the board, but he's a top 22 prospect on my big board. So sitting here at 38, you can get a guy like Anton Harrison. He's a 10-year starting tackle in the next level, and I think he has all pro potential. I think he absolutely smashed that pick there at 38. And then 70, this is where you might be looking cornerback. There's going to be a couple cornerbacks. Julius Brents comes to mind. Eli Ricks, Keely Ringo. We'll see if we get any of those guys to fall. Taking a look at 70 here. Garrett Williams would be a nice pick. Let's take a look at what cornerbacks we got on the board here. Eli Ricks. I think that's another phenomenal pick. Eli Ricks is a dude that I don't think PFF has their thing working right now. He only played in 9 games for Alabama in 2022. He's a former 5-star transfer from LSU to Bama. He had some off-the-field concerns, so you want to make sure you get your interviews in. You make sure you check that out. But when targeted, only had a 35% completion percentage on him, a 42.5 passer rating. This dude was absolutely nails, and people threw away from him. The comp I would have to another guy in this class is Joey Porter Jr. With the length that Eli Ricks has, with how smooth he is in the hips and how smooth he is as a mover, I think is really special. Again, former 5-star, so he's got those traits. I think Eli Ricks he's kind of one of those guys that I'm saying would be a top 50 prospect if it wasn't for such a loaded cornerback class. Darius Rush is another really, really good guy. Jalen Jones and even Keely Ringo, all guys that might be around round 3 because of how good this cornerback class is. I think you go up and get a guy like Eli Ricks, who I think is a day one starter at the next level. And again, I mean, these first 3 picks, I think all have potential to be all pro type guys. Feeling really good about that. 109, I might be targeting kind of an interior defensive lineman. There's a few guys I like on the board. Michael Wilson's sitting there too. I know wide receiver is not a massive concern. Moro Jomo. Man, I love me some Moro Jomo. He's a guy a little undersized, plays kind of that 3 tech. Phenomenal against the run. I'll talk about 2 guys that I think I like during this area. Moro Jomo and then his teammate Keandre Coburn. They do some different things. Keandre Coburn is the fire hydrant. He's 6'2", he's 335 pounds. He eats double teams up, kind of your run stuff for 1 tech. Moro Jomo, more of a 3 tech who has the strength. He's only 289 pounds, but has the strength to hold up in the run game phenomenally well. But he offers you some pass rush from the inside, which I think is rare. And when you're asking me to take an interior defensive lineman, give me some upside in the pass rush that, quite frankly, Keandre Coburn does not have. Moro Jomo has special burst off the line of scrimmage. He's got some nice bend too, and he uses his hands extremely well and can kind of be a versatile dude on the defensive line. So I think Moro Jomo makes a lot of sense. You got a guy like Tyree Wilson, Moro Jomo coming in at that defensive line. I think that would make a lot of sense for the Las Vegas Raiders. And again, trying to fill in some of those holes you feel like you have on the team. And we have a ton of picks. I love doing Raiders drafts because I get to talk about all my sleeper guys. 142 and 145 coming up next. Dorian Williams would be a nice linebacker to add. He kind of jumps off the board here. I don't think linebacker is necessarily the biggest position of need, but he would be a nice addition. I kind of want to check out this tackle or kind of like this swing interior offensive line class too. Nobody that's really jumping out. That could be a position that, because I do think there's a little bit of a fall off with those guys. I think another guy I would add is McLennan Curtis from Chattanooga, Tennessee, but Dorian Williams would make a lot of sense at this linebacker. And I kind of want to take a look at some of the free agents that are pending. Shout out Luke Masterson, my boy from Wake Forest. He's phenomenal. I don't want to replace him, but I do think he can add some bodies and some talent to that linebacker room. Let's take a look at the linebackers that are available. But Dorian Williams is a guy that he translates to the NFL at a nice way. Yeah, I think Dorian Williams would have to be the pick here. He plays in coverage really well. He plays in space really well, and that's something you really, really like when you're looking at prospects transitioning to the NFL. 145 here. Now, Kobe Wooden would be a nice Keandre. I would love doubling up on Moro Jomo and Keandre Coburn here. Take a look at a guy like Bryce Ford Wheaton, who's 6'3", 225 pounds. Devonta Adams, more of just like a technician running routes. You got a guy like Hunter Renfrow on the inside. Taking a look at the other boundary wide receiver, go get a freak who's 6'3", 225, runs a 4.3 840. He absolutely burns and jumps 40 inches vertically. He uses his body extremely well at the catch point. And then when you watch his film, he's much more of he's just a physical big wide receiver who can use his body at the catch point. And then he runs a 4.3 840. You don't really see that horsepower on film, but now that you know he has it, you're probably looking at Bryce Ford Wheaton in a little bit of a different way. I would love Bryce Ford Wheaton is one of my favorite guys to scoop up early day 3 because you combine that size with that speed, you really can't. It's hard to pass on a guy like that here. 173, and I love me some Dwayne McBride, but I also love Zamir White out of Georgia last year, so I'm not really pressed on taking a running back. I think you could go a lot of different ways. I wouldn't mind adding another guy on the defensive line. So I do think that is Antonio Mafi, a former. This is kind of a sneaky pick here. And again, when you get so many picks here, you can kind of have a little bit of fun. Antonio Mafi started his career as a defensive lineman. He's got some real deal power. I think he needs some more polishing because, again, he's transitioning on sides of the ball. So he's now an offensive guard. Film was really good from UCLA in 2022. But again, I love the idea that this dude is just scratching the surface of how good he can be as an offensive lineman. Because again, he started his career at UCLA as an interior defensive lineman. So Antonio Mafi is a really interesting prospect for UCLA. And I'm kind of eyeing a guy like McClendon Curtis. I want to see if he's available, kind of a swing tackle, can also play guard. He's a guy that I really, really like here as well. Let's see if he's on the board. I believe they have him listed as tackle. And he's not in the tackles. Please be in the guards. I'd love to talk a little McClendon Curtis here. He's not, but Ricky Stromberg is, and I know you're doubling up on you're getting 3 offensive linemen, but I don't think that's crazy for the Raiders, especially when you have a guy like Jimmy G coming in. You got to be able to protect him. Ricky Stromberg probably not going to be an all-pro center, but he's a 3-year starter at Arkansas, and he's a damn good football player. I wouldn't say he's as good as Creed Humphrey, but kind of similar vibes from he's not the athlete Creed Humphrey is at Kansas City. This is probably not the best comp in the world. But Ricky Stromberg's been very, very good for Arkansas for a very long time. They develop offensive linemen at a high level. Ricky Stromberg here, I know you're doubling up on the interior offensive line, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing because when you look at this depth chart, I think they need to get better very quickly on the defensive line. And I wouldn't mind targeting. You could go a lot of different ways here. I really like Morik from TCU. I like his game. I think he'll kind of put it together, kind of taking a look at some other positions in need. Maybe another linebacker, although I'm high on Luke Masterson. I think he can play. Muhammad Diabate is not a really dude that I'm looking at. Dylan Horton's one of my favorite. Let's take a look at this edge class and maybe add another body. Dylan Horton's probably going to be my pick. 35 pressures on the year, 4 sacks in the college football playoffs against Michigan. This dude is falling in the draft because he's not necessarily the top tier athlete. A guy like Tyree Wilson is. Dylan Horton has a phenomenal motor. This dude plays the game at an extremely hard level, and he's also really good in the run game. And I'm not saying he's going to come in and be a starter, but I think he's going to be a guy that you can rotate in, and he's going to be reliable to be a very solid football player. Whether he's playing inside at that 3 tech or whether he's playing kind of that 5 tech edge rusher, because he is around 280 pounds. He can do a lot of different things. He's a strong player, pretty solid athlete. Dylan Horton's one of when you watch this film, this dude just plays the game. He plays the game the right way. And I think you really like that there. BJ Thompson is a nice one to keep an eye on. Justin Shorter, very similar story to Bryce Ford Wheaton. He's a very, very good athlete. Taking a look at, and this is kind of the point where you're not necessarily drafting for needs. You're more just drafting some good players that you like. Darius Davis, an absolute speedster from TCU, kind of track star type of guy. Brenton Strange from Penn State, solid tight end. I think we're going to go up and get, this would be another defensive lineman. I think we're gonna go get a guy like Justin Shorter, and you're kind of putting 2 lotto tickets in, but when you have that many picks in the 7th round, go use a lottery ticket. And Justin Shorter, former 5-star, top 10 national recruit, went to Penn State, transferred to Florida, hasn't really put it together, and I'm not sure it's totally his fault. The quarterback play for Florida hasn't been great. And then Cameron Young would be a nice depth piece to add. Drake Thomas, I really like. He just another guy who plays the game the right way. You could go a lot of different ways here. Dante Stills is a guy that I really like. We'll go get AJ Finley from Ole Miss. 6'3", good length safety. I haven't watched a ton of his film, but I've seen as a college football fan, he's popped. And again, 7th round, go get a guy who, if he doesn't start, he's going to be playing some special teams. And that's kind of why I like taking backers, safeties round 7, because they're going to be special teams guys, kind of like what you did with Luke Masterson. PFF, absolutely loving the draft besides my Moro Jomo pick. And Tyree Wilson, A-. I think that's kind of a solid pick. And again, that 7th pick overall, I think you're talking about trading back if Will Levis is still there and you're not interested in Will Levis. Anton Harrison is an absolute dynamite pick at 38. Eli Ricks, again, one of my favorite prospects. I love these first 3 picks. If the Raiders get to come away with these first 3 picks, kind of all 3 of my guys that I really am high on, that would be a very nice haul. Moro Jomo, D+. They don't respect Moro Jomo like I respect Moro Jomo. And Bryce Ford Wheaton. And those are kind of 2 of the guys that I value a little bit more than PFF. And then you round it out with just eating your vegetables. Antonio Mafi, Ricky Stromberg, 2 interior offensive linemen. Dylan Horton, a guy that's going to play for you for a very long time. He's going to get a lot of reps. I don't know if he'll ever be a starter, but he's going to be a rotational guy. And then Justin Shorter, another one of my pet cat lottery tickets to round out the draft. A solid B+ for the boys. We'll take it. And again, wanted to keep this one short, wanted to talk a little bit about the Jimmy G trade, but of course, we appreciate the support you guys are showing, the amount of love you guys are showing means a lot to the fellas. And if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.